ready for more? Or are we all tired and exhausted? No answer. Ready for more? Okay, good. So let us start immediately with our role plays. What did we have? First group was the ladies group, wasn't it? Yeah, we have our ladies here. Okay, good. Hang on. How can we do it that our internet audience also can see the role plays? Yeah, better run. Yes, you got them in the camera. Hang on. Let him just adjust the camera there. Okay, good. So I will go to the audience so I can see. So that's envious, not envious towards seniors, right? Yeah.
First is envious.
Yeah.
First is envious.
Yeah.
Okay. So both of us we will share, no?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. You know, I have a question. Yesterday, Usha Mataji called me and she invited me to join a conference. And I was actually thinking about it. I'm not really sure what to do. Can you give me some guidance if I should join her call?
Usha called you? Really?
Yeah.
You know what? Never talk to that lady again. Don't join the conference call.
She always keeps talking to Usha, and now she's telling me not to talk to her? I don't think I'm going to take that advice. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. You know what? Yesterday, Usha Mataji called me and she was asking me if I can join a conference call with her. I'm not really sure. Can you give me some guidance?
Oh, Usha called you?
Yeah.
You know what? Never attend that call.
Oh, why?
Some other time, we will talk about that. Some other time.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much for your advice.
Yeah.
I asked for guidance and I'm so fortunate I received the guidance. What association I take will matter if I will or will not progress spiritually. So I think I'm going to take that advice. Good association is important for my spiritual growth.
Krishna. So we'll start the non-envious junior behavior. Envious junior behavior, sorry. And the scene goes like this. A newcomer comes in and he talks to the senior devotee, and senior devotee assigns a service which is a difficult service for the first time.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay.
How are you, Prabhu?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, Prabhu.
Very nice to see you.
Very well.
You know what? a couple of like in 10-15 days, we have a coming up Ratha Yatra. I think.
Ratha Yatra?
Yeah. Jagannath
Ratha Yatra, Prabhu?
Jagannath Ratha Yatra.
Jagannath?
Yeah.
That happens in India, Prabhu?
Yeah, it's happened here also.
Here also?
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu.
So I know that you are good in speaking in communications. So I want you to take the permission with the cops, and we have 1 week time, and you should ready with that. Okay?
Cops?
Yes.
Permission?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All the best.
Okay, okay, Prabhu. Okay. It's like not in India here. They don't even take under table money also. How do I do that?
After 1 week. Where is this devotee is not to be seen here? Oh, you're here. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. How are you?
I'm good, Prabhu. How are you?
I'm good. So, what happened with the permission? Did you get it?
Permission, Prabhu, no, not yet.
What?
Prabhu, this like it's a cop permission, right? It's not even in India, like where they can take some money and adjust. I don't know, and I have no clue about what permission to take and what activities we do in the Rath Yatra.
You don't know basic communications to speak with the police, and you seems to be you're in communication very good personality, and you deal with the CEO with the companies, and you can't deal with the cops. It's for the devotional service.
Prabhu, dealing with CEO is different, dealing with cop is totally different.
You always give excuse, I don't like this. You do better chant nicely. Purity is a force. Okay. Scene, we are encouraging the juniors, non-envious. Oh, there are so many students come here. Very nice. I think someone should be lead the kirtan. Ah, that devotee, where is? Haribol, Prabhu.
Haribol,
Yeah, good, you came. Can you lead the kirtan with the people?
Kirtan?
Yeah.
Prabhu, there are so many devotees. Can I do it?
No, you are very good at harmony play. So please do it.
I'm still learning, Prabhu, with harmonium.
No, it's okay, it's okay,
Are you
it's
sure, Prabhu?
okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's not.
Can I do it?
See, Krishna will not see your external. He will see internal. I know you are very humble.
Okay.
Please do it.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is
Hare Krishna. So we will have 3 for envious and 3 for non-envious. They will be very short and straight to the point, so please try to follow us. Just one small remark, like when Navina was giving the instruction to the junior devotee, at the end he also could like say, like I bless you, just do that, like giving whatever special stuff. Anyway, okay, let's go. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Happy Ekadashi.
Happy Kaddish.
Fasting completely, not taking even water. I have to go, need to finish my 32nd round.
30.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, did you meet the new Bhakta Joe that joined our ashram these days?
Bhakta who?
Bhakta Joe, such a nice devotee. He washes so many pots, like always in the service.
Oh, you know what? Yesterday I was in the service washing pots. He wasn't even on a schedule. I don't know.
No, he does a lot.
Oh, really? I don't think
And
so.
also he's so eager when brahmacharis and when we go to do book distribution, he's so eager to go too.
I don't know why you're talking so many good things about this Bhakta Joe, but last time I went on book distribution, we distributed books, but he wasn't even there.
Krishna Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
ready to go to the temple?
Yeah, you
It's
too?
okay, let's take my car.
No, let's take my car.
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry. This is non-envious.
Non-envious, yeah.
No, come on, last time you drove, let's take my car.
Prabhu, please, my car. Oh, washing pots. Washing pots. Washing pots.
Babuji, I have to leave for about an hour right now. Could you please just leave this pile here? I'll come back and I'll wash.
Don't
All
worry.
right, thank you. Action. After 1 hour. Come on, Prabhu, I asked you just to leave them.
Oh, Prabhu, it's so nice to see you.
Yeah, so you like role plays? Yeah, they're good, aren't they? Yes, very nice, very nice. Nevertheless, I feel like adding one little comment to the first one, this instruction of never talking to that Mataji. I don't feel quite comfortable with that, even though in the non-envious thing it was a bit nicer explained, but still, as a senior one, we don't give such instructions, you know, never to talk to anybody or something. Yeah, and then I tell you later, and then the new devotee's mind has all kinds of concepts about that person or something. Better not to. Actually, yes, it's on the fifth lesson. But maybe I'll quickly share this now because it matches. And usually the fifth lesson we don't do necessarily anyway. It's just additional points that can be discussed. But in that fifth lesson, I'm sharing, I once was in the situation, or not only once, many times I was in the situation where I can see some little, you know, inappropriate things there in very senior devotees, and I was always at a loss what to do about it. So then once I asked Nanja Swami what to do, if you see some anatta, some shortcomings in very senior devotees. And for many years I was at a loss because I felt bad that I see these things. I felt like some offender, or like the fly going for the stool, and instead of being like the honeybee who just sees the positive. So, and he gave me 3 principles which I found very helpful for my life. Principle number 1, he said, don't suppress it, meaning that yes, acknowledge that even in very senior devotees there can be some shortcomings. So don't feel that, oh, you should not be seeing them and you feel all guilty. No, don't suppress it. Second principle is don't dwell on it, meaning don't think constantly about this, that, oh, this person has this shortcoming, and. So when we dwell, it means that it's actually our problem, that we have some envy, that we think, oh, this person is senior, but actually he's got this and this problem, and he actually shouldn't receive this respect and honor and this and that. So if we can't just acknowledge it and put it aside, but we dwell on it, it means we've got a problem. So don't suppress, don't dwell. And the third one, don't broadcast it. Don't try and save everybody from that person's association. You know? Yeah, and that reminded me a little bit of that, you know, that even if you see some shortcomings in a senior person, no need to tell everybody, oh, you know, this person is actually, you shouldn't associate with that person, and that actually, I know more than you know, you know, shall I tell you something which you probably don't even know? No, don't broadcast. And the conclusion was, if a person inspires us in following the principles of devotional life, then this person is doing its job, his job, her job, you know? And then as we uplift that person more, then the person will be able to discriminate whose association to take, whose not to take. But unless there is a really, really, really heavy reason, you know, if a person is, you know, philosophically really off and is a Ritwik or this or that, or really heavily offensive or something, and even then we would not deal like this, that we just say, no, never answer that person's call, I'll tell you another time. Not really the best way, you know, to give guidance to a person. So, but if that person is not completely off, even though he might not, you know, be, not faultless or something. I mean, who is faultless? We also have our issues to work on. So, better not to make such statements. So I simply wanted to add that, you know, not to, but otherwise the main point came across, of course, you know, yes. Okay, so before we continue, let me see, are there any questions about this topic of envy? Because this morning we didn't have time to ask for questions. Is there anything? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. As you were saying, the association with equals is the most purifying and challenging.
Yeah.
And you were showing this, explaining these two examples, serving together, how it would actually, the attention goes to a different direction rather than the service. Do you have any suggestions? I know you mentioned we should not avoid it, but take advantage of it. Do you have any suggestions when the envy comes out so much that it overcomes me and I cannot even control?
Well, I mean, sometimes a relationship might be so inflamed and, you know, agitated that maybe for some time we have to keep a little bit of a distance, just to let it cool down a little bit or something, and just maintain a respectful attitude towards each other, but a bit from the distance. But then also there is that instruction that those who we are envious of, that we should serve those devotees, you know, and go out of our way. But then there is also, I have these 5 or 6 steps I always recommend, which are very helpful for any kind of transformational internal work we should be doing, whether that's envy or ego, you know, ego patterns of behaviors. First step is always hearing about the topic, you know, how envy, ego affects us, so we become more conscious, we become more aware, we become more mindful of it. So hearing is always topic number 1. So we learn how it actually affects us. And then hearing usually leads to step 2, that we desire to get rid of it. So there has to be a strong desire to uproot this bad quality. And then step number 3 is we have to introspect in honesty. We have to be honest and introspective, looking within our hearts. Why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? What is my motive? Without this introspection in honesty, we almost cannot actually make advancement. Because the contaminated intelligence will always find so many reasons how to justify ourselves and why we are right and everybody else is wrong, right? We can really cheat ourselves. So we have to introspect in honesty. Without this, we have no chance, actually, because these things are so subtle, so deep. Unless we really are introspective and honest, we cannot even detect them. So that's step number 3, introspect and be honest. Step number 4 is catch yourself doing the wrong thing. Catch yourself doing the wrong thing. So that's already progress. Because before you didn't even realize you were doing the wrong thing. You thought it was all normal and perfect and fine. But now we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. Again my envy took over and I said things which I shouldn't have said. Or I'm again defending and justifying myself, just defending and protecting my false ego, answering back instead of just shutting up and be quiet and letting it go by. So we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. The next step is we lament. We cry out to Krishna. Oh, Krishna, when will the day come when I finally can let go of this envious or ego behavior? We lament. We call out to Krishna. Because these things are actually like demons in the heart. We, by our own strength, actually cannot really uproot them. We have to invite Lord Nrsimhadev to do the heart surgery with his sharp nails there. He is very expert. But the problem is that we usually are not so serious in getting rid of this. We think our envy will bear some tasty fruits. And we maintain it, actually. We protect it, you know? Yes. So, but if we do this internal work of being introspective and honest, catch ourselves doing the wrong thing, crying out to Krishna. If we do this, and this introspection and honesty almost has to be a permanent, you know, a permanent kind of consciousness there, that we always have this introspection and honesty, that we are always perceptive towards ourselves, why we're saying things, why we're doing things, and, you know, we have to be sensitized, you know? Yes. So if we do this kind of internal work, then sooner or later we will catch ourselves doing the right thing. In some little detail, you know? But we will realize, wow, this time I acted differently. A few weeks before, I would have responded in a different way. I would have really gone for it and justified and this and that. But this time, I could just let it go by and not respond to it. So, and then we get some little encouragement. We realize, oh, gee, it's actually working. And ultimately, it's Krishna actually who is helping us along. You know? So like that, we can, you know, bring about any kind of transformation or internal work. And when we agree to do this kind of internal work, that's when we actually make progress. That's when we actually get purified. Yes. we often think making progress in spiritual life, we measure it very externally, you know. How many years I've been a devotee, what position and title I have, and. But no, that's the real criteria. How am I really doing this internal work of letting go of my false ego, uprooting this envious behavior? Yeah, because that's what counts at the moment of death, you know. All our big achievements, they're not very significant when we are facing death, actually. But how much we have dissolved our false ego, that's really what counts, you know. So these steps are there for any kind of internal transformation. Okay. Yes, Puru.
Mataji, sometimes when we're in the receiving end of something that appears to be, at least to our sensitivity, some enviousness, what arises, I talk for myself, sometimes arises also the same type of feeling towards the other person. So it's sort of like
it's contagious.
You feed each other.
Yes.
And one thing is that those loving relationships that are nourishing and allowed ones to open one's heart is based on trust and, love and trust. So when that experience is there, then the trust gets broken, then what do you recommend when one is affected and get also caught in this envious, so that our personal envy also comes forward?
Okay, good question. Well, it very much depends on our spiritual strength. If we cannot counteract it with non-envy and humility, then we might have to take a little distance and simply do this internal work of begging Krishna and because after all our envy is also there, it ignites our envy, So it's not that we are free from envy. If we were free from envy, then we could just deal with it in a non-envious way, and that would purify the whole situation. But because we get affected, so that shows that we also have envy in our heart, and there again we can just simply take a distance, but we do go through these steps of doing this internal work. But if our spiritual strength is powerful enough to deal with it in a non-envious way, in a mood of service, in a mood of generosity, then we can just counteract it like that. And that's very powerful. If actually, if somebody is envious towards us and inimical, but we can deal with that person in a very well-wishing mood of friendship and service. Very powerful, very purifying for that other person, actually. So humility is always victorious. But it requires some spiritual strength, that we don't get affected by this and our own envy doesn't get ignited or something. So we have to be aloof, we have to be above it. We have to see through it that yes, actually this person, by nature the soul is all beautiful and all sublime, but temporarily this person is covered with this envy. So we feel some compassion, we feel some compassion towards that person, that we can see the person in a diseased condition. And we don't take it personal, I mean, that's a pretty helpful view anyway, when somebody is inimical towards us or something, to not take it personal, to just understand. It's just the conditioning of the person. Actually, the person who is envious towards us is even suffering more under this. Because it's a very ugly feeling and state of the heart there to be envious. Very, very horrible. I'm sure we all have that experience. So the person actually doesn't want to be like that. It's just his disease condition. So if we have that vision, then we will not take offense, we will not take it personal. And if we have enough spiritual strength, we can purify the whole situation with a non-envious behavior. Right? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, let us move on to session number 3. Hang on. This is 5, 4, 3. That one. Yeah, you give some to the men and let them also distribute. So now the topic is the qualities required to be eager for shelter. And as I mentioned already yesterday, we will discover that these qualities in material life and its culture, people are not striving for them. They almost seem to be a weakness. So, not surprising that we might not have them, and not surprising that therefore we might not be that eager for shelter actually, right? So we will discover this. So everybody's got the materials? Yes. The foremost quality to have in order to be eager for shelter is humility. And we can say humility manifests in different secondary qualities. Right? So in the first secondary quality, which I came up, I kind of composed this all myself. So it's not perfect and complete. Maybe there's other qualities also. But anyway, from myself, I felt these 3 qualities which we have here on our sheet, they're the foremost ones in order to be eager for shelter. So humility manifests as inquisitiveness. Right? Inquisitiveness. Well, if we are humble, then we will be eager to find out, to inquire. We understand I don't know everything, and this person knows more than me, so let me be inquisitive towards that person. Whereas if we are proud, there's 2 words which block any kind of learning experience. What are the 2 words which block any kind of learning experience? I know. I know. If we have that mood, I know. Oh, well, all right, then you know it all already, so then nothing more for you to learn. You know it, Yeah, so this I know, that will really block any kind of inquisitiveness. Right? Yes. So now one thing is, Rupa Goswami also says that the main and foremost quality we have to get pure bhakti is lorium, intense greed to get it. Right? So if a person is greedy for anything, material or spiritual, he will be inquisitive in this regard. Right? If a person wants to become a good businessman, make lots of money, well, he will be inquisitive in this regard. He will join all kinds of conferences and forums and clubs and get magazines and whatever. You know, he will want to find out, how will I get there to become a good businessman? Right? So, and same thing in bhakti, if we are actually really keen to develop pure devotional service, we will be inquisitive in that regard. So now one thing is, inquisitiveness is much more than just, oh, I've got the question. You know, one can have a question, but not be very inquisitive. And on the other hand, one might not have a question, but be very inquisitive. Right? Yes. So inquisitiveness, I see actually more as a kind of state of the heart. It is this intense eagerness to hear, to understand, to find out, that we suck up every drop that comes from a person's mouth. We eagerly want to understand and want to apply. That's inquisitiveness. As an opposite to inquisitiveness, hearing with an inquisitive mentality, the opposite would be hearing with indifference. All right? Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes these 3 levels of attentiveness in regards to chanting the holy name. But actually the same principles can be used in any service, not only chanting, can be used in any service, even hearing. So the first inattentiveness is the level of the body, laziness and sleepiness. So obviously if we hear sleepy, you know, we don't get much benefit from that kind of hearing. So then the second level of inattentiveness is on the level of the mind, distraction. So if we sit here and hear, but the mind is going all over the universe, then also we will not assimilate so much. And the third level of inattentiveness is on the level of the heart, indifference. Here we come across this again. We had it this morning in regards to what? How did we mention indifference? Oh, serving, you know? Serving with indifference or serving with heart and soul. Right? We were touching there upon this indifference. This indifference, oh, we have to kick it out of our life. No room for this. You know, if we want to actually make progress, there cannot be any indifference in our heart. So in this hearing with indifference, this is, in my humble understanding, this is the opposite of being inquisitive. Right? Makes sense? Yes, yes. So it is really a situation of the heart, actually, a certain kind of consciousness. It's not just a question of having a question or not having a question. Right? And even Prabhupada, when he met his spiritual master the first time, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta could immediately see this person is hearing eagerly. And it's not even so much that Prabhupada had so many questions. All right, he asked some things there about Gandhi and independence of India and all that. But it was not that, oh, he had a whole big lot of philosophical questions there. But no, he was hearing with rapt attention. And Bhaktisiddhanta immediately spotted it. And he immediately said, this person is qualified because he is hearing properly. Yeah? So that's Prabhupada as an example of actually being inquisitive. So I want to share one purport with you. You've got the number here on your sheet, 2824, where Prabhupada says a nice thing. He says, the spiritual master is always prepared to impart knowledge to the disciple, and specifically when the disciple is very inquisitive. Inquisitiveness on the part of a disciple is greatly necessary for the progressive disciple. Maharaj Parekit is a typical disciple because he is perfectly inquisitive. So now comes the heavy statement. Better watch out. If one is not very inquisitive about self-realization, one need not approach a spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. Heavy, isn't it? Yes. So in other words, you know, if we are actually not that inquisitive, no need to even accept guru here, just to make a show. Oh yeah, I'm a disciple, I have a guru and all this kind of thing. But we're actually not inquisitive. We don't really have a burning desire to develop pure devotional bhakti service and work out how to get there. You know? So then, no need. No need. And there was also a nice little situation. Prabhupada, he used to have these afternoon darshans, where people and devotees and guests used to just come to him either in his room or in his garden and sit and get some association. So and then on one of these gatherings, Prabhupada was asking, so you have some question? And the devotees were saying, no, Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada manifested some anger. Why have you come here then? No need to come for you to the spiritual master. You know, if you don't have a question, get out. Get out. And he kicked them out. So with that little situation, Prabhupada was giving this instruction, you know, we are not meant to approach Guru with this mood of enjoyment and entertainment. Let's see what he's going to tell us today, and hopefully it will be all funny and we have lots of jokes and all that. But no, we are meant to approach Guru with that mood of inquisitiveness. Yes. So that's why Prabhupada, you know, set this little incident there. And I mean, really, I remember for many years, I used to collect questions throughout the year. And every time I had opportunity to meet my guru, I used to go and make an appointment and ask my questions. And this is actually a nice way to cultivate, you know, that this is how we are meant to approach Guru, this is how we are meant to associate. We don't just want to be some attention seeker, just getting a bit of intention here, but we actually want to ask a relevant question. That's how we are meant to associate. That's how we take advantage of a senior person's presence. So we have to cultivate this inquisitiveness a little bit, and a good tip is to just collect questions, you know, because very often when Guru is not here, then we have so many questions, but when he's here, we can't even remember any. So why not write down, collect them, you know, and then we've got a whole list of meaningful questions here, and you know, then we can actually get something from that association. And one thing is, unless one person is eager to hear and inquire, and the other person has something uplifting to share, no nectar flows. Then there will be only small talk, right? Oh, hi, Val, how's it going? This, that, and not much more than that. Of course, some initial small talk might have to be there just to establish the connection again. But then, unless there is some eagerness to inquire and hear, and the other person has something uplifting to share, it will not be nectarian. There will not be something really deep and meaningful and uplifting for both sides. And I once had this experience actually. I was invited for lunch in Ukraine to some Grihastha's house, and they were a reasonable length of time. They were in Krishna consciousness, maybe some 15 years or something. So they were not so new, but also not super duper senior, 15, 20 years. So, and all right, I came there for lunch. And, well, this is a bit of a disease these days, that people, instead of inquiring, they like to talk about themselves. Right? Have you ever noticed that? People love to talk about themselves, what they will do, and this and that and this and that, and showing here, they're my flowers, I'm growing them from our deities, and oh, look at this, and you want to see the photos from last year's flowers, and this and that, and you know, it's all a bit in this mood of showing off, and just talking about yourself. I mean, people love it. And it's not surprising, because as we were saying, material life and its culture, it's all about showing off. The more you're expert in showing off, the more successful you are. You know, Facebook, here, this is me doing this, doing that, and you know, perfect way of, oh, any fool can become famous all over the world through Facebook, you know. All you have to know is the art of showing off. Yes. Yeah, I'm not a Facebook friend. I do have a Facebook page for my institute, but somebody else manages it for me, and I'm just looking and seeing that not too ridiculous things are posted there. But otherwise, oh, I can't stand it, this Facebook. You know, I like to call it ego book. Not Facebook, ego book. Oh, people just promote themselves, you know. Oh my God, it's actually really damaging for our spiritual life. It's poisoning, because we're just feeding our egos there like anything, you know. Anyway, so let's get back to that lunch. So I was there, and yes, this was happening. They were just talking about themselves. And oh, well, because they didn't ask me anything, I was trying to ask them something, thinking maybe they get the idea that they could also ask me something, or whatever, you know. But anyway, it was just all about them and, you know, their activities. So, and then I was already getting a little disappointed, thinking, okay, one of those meetings here. But then, lo and behold, she was putting out a magazine for her Guru about her Guru Maharaj. And, you know, on the pretext of the magazine and making an interview with me for the magazine, she actually started to ask me some questions. Of course, only for the interview, you know. So she asked me all kinds of questions, and I tried my best to give some uplifting answer. And then at some point, there was a turning point where she actually genuinely became interested, where she became inquisitive actually. You know, by the answers, she started personally getting involved and showing some personal interest. She realized, wow, this is actually relevant for me here. And then she started asking all kinds of personal questions. She all forgot about the interview. And then all of a sudden, the whole atmosphere changed. And actually our exchange became deep and meaningful. And I was thinking, I was smiling to myself afterwards, thinking again, just see, unless one person is eager to hear and inquire, and another person has something a little meaningful to share, no nectar flows. It's completely boring, you know? But these two things have to be there when two devotees meet. Otherwise, it's boring small talk, and no upliftment is there. So this is really, yeah, it's important to understand. And rather than just talking about ourselves, you know, we should take advantage of inquiring from a senior person. That's how we associate, actually. Yeah, so this inquisitiveness, highly important, very important. So now one thing is, in material life and its culture, it is almost seen to be a weakness to be inquisitive, right? And to ask a question. What? You don't know? You don't know this? Really? Really? Oh, I know. How come you don't know? You know? Yeah, it is almost, you know, a shameful position to not know something. And it is seen to be foolish to inquire. This is even, we can find this in lectures sometimes, you know, that people feel too embarrassed. They're afraid, everybody thinks I'm a fool that I don't know this, and therefore people rather don't inquire. Yes, yes, it's there. Or also people feel, oh, this is a disturbance to the person. If I go up to the person and ask a question, it bothers them. Well, that's what it's like in material life. You know, as we said, everybody is so selfish, just on their agendas there and their goals. And oh, forget it, don't bother me, I've got no time. That's the attitude in material culture. But in spiritual culture, no meaningful question is a botheration. Actually, it's a service towards the speaker. To ask a question, to stimulate him, to share more, to draw out more deeper knowledge from him. It's service. There is purports where Prabhupada is saying that to inquire serves everybody, and especially the speaker. He gets most of the benefit. That's why I'm sitting here, saying I need most of the benefit and purification here. Yes, yeah, truly. And the audience, everybody, others who hear it, everybody gets purified, everybody is uplifted. So, you know, in spiritual life, nobody will feel bothered if a person has a genuine and serious question about spiritual practice. That's what we want, that people inquire how to make progress, how to overcome obstacles. That's what we want, you know? Very different in the two cultures. You know, in material life, it's seen as a botheration. It's seen to be a foolishness, weakness. Everybody tries to project that they all know. Yes, I know, even though they might not even know, but they don't want to admit they don't know. You know, it's a whole thing. And if they don't know, rather than asking somebody, they rather get Mr. Google, you know, and ask him. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, if I didn't know something, I went to my father. You know, I had that attitude. My father knows everything. He can solve any problem. And we went to him. These days, no need for the father. We just Google, you know. Yeah. Of course, Mr. Google might not have such good solutions for spiritual questions. But even there you find so many things. And so much is offensive what Mr. Google will, you know, bring up. You know, all kinds of offensive stuff there. So that's what you get when you ask Mr. Google, you know. Yes. Yes, now, I mean, I can't remember, I think it was, what's his name from South India? He was sharing this, that through this internet, because everything is so easily accessible, this also reduces the respect towards the elders. No need for them, we just Google, you know? Yes. Sorry? Very true. 4 kinds of people approach Krishna, the inquisitive, so they don't come to the temple anymore, they just Google it. Yeah, I mean, there's something to it, definitely. Okay, well, this is in short about this quality of inquisitiveness. Yes, and also let us remember, spiritual knowledge is given in a descending way. It's not ascending. You know, like in schools, we often try and work it out ourselves, and this and that, and we analyze and. It's more ascending. Even in the teaching style, just mere information, you can teach ascending. But spiritual knowledge, actually, it is descending. We have to hear from somebody who's got more realizations than we have. That's the way to get spiritual knowledge. You know, we can't all work it all out by ourselves or something. No, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, they are our references, and we hear from them. You know. So, do we have any questions about this? Let's see how inquisitive you are. Where do we have the microphone? So, are you, all right. So next one is Madhu. Yeah, I wanted her to say something. I haven't heard anything from you yet.
Hare Krishna, Mataji Devaki.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ukraine, but I'm friend of Lila Smarana, if you remember.
I've been thinking all the time, where do I know you from? What's your name?
Guna Manjari.
Oh, we met in Vrindavan.
Yeah,
you stayed in my flat there.
Yes.
Oh, now I remember. Yeah. Okay, well, surprise. Okay, so let's hear your question.
Excuse me for my English. Most
no problem.
Russian.
I like the Russian accent.
Yeah. Thank you.
Makes me feel at home.
And my question is, what is better? You mentioned some quality, good quality. It's better to, if we haven't this quality, it's better to pretend we have, or it's better to just be yourself, or just like, what is better to act? Be more sincere, just be what I am what I are. If I have some, for example, I have some envy, something you mentioned, and what is better for me? It's like just try to pretend I am not have, act like I am not have, and just be like I am.
Okay.
It's general, not speaking about myself.
Okay. So, I mean, to pretend is never any good. Because if we pretend, we might end up believing that we have the quality. And if we pretend, oh well, then there's no incentive to strive to develop it, because we pretend we have it already. So that's never any good. So, I mean, we went through the steps there of transformation, so we should, hear about the quality, we should develop the desire to get the quality, we should be, striving for it, and hankering and lamenting that we don't have it. And externally, there is Vaishnava etiquette and culture. Mm-hmm. So in the etiquette and culture, they help us to act according to certain rules and etiquettes. And they are there to help us develop the quality. So whole Vaishnava etiquette is simply meant to teach us so we are more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. Chinada pisanichina. If we all spontaneously had those qualities, then there would be no need for Vaishnava etiquette and culture. We would do automatically everything. But because we're not quite there yet, that's why we have to follow the etiquette and culture. That's why the etiquette and culture is so important. Because if we don't have that, then we always fall back to our ego patterns of behaviors, and we never get anywhere. Right? So the etiquettes might be, to some extent, there might be a little external and maybe in the beginning artificial. You know, as an example, we pay obeisances, you know, you know, so in the beginning this might feel very unusual and artificial to us, but then as we practice and at the same time desire to get that quality, that external etiquette will internalize sooner or later. Jai Shri Shri Kishore Kishori and Gonatai and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Yeah, so by externally following the etiquette and at the same time internally desiring to develop the quality, then the external etiquette sooner or later will become internalized. And then we will feel awkward not going up to a devotee and paying obeisances or something, you know? So it might be a little, we can say, kind of pretending in the beginning. But this is not pretending, because we know very well in our hearts that we are not humble and tolerant, and in order to get there, we accept the Vaishnava etiquette and culture, and at the same time we desire. If we don't desire to develop the qualities, then it will just be an external show. But if we desire, it will become internalized. Right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so there was some other hands up there in the back, Prabhu. Did you want to say something?
So maybe I missed it when you were enumerating the 4 types of being inattentive, yes. 3 types. So it was 3 you said?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Body,
4.
mind and heart.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. What else? We'll continue there since the mic is there.
Mataji, in the purport, 2. The one which you have referenced, 2.8.24, the last sentence, can you please explain that? Like, factually it is not possible for a man to inquire about everything from the spiritual master.
Oh, I didn't write that. I only wrote 1 paragraph in my book. So I don't know. What is the last sentence? You read it to me clearly so I understand.
Okay. Factually it is not possible for a man to inquire about everything from the spiritual master, but the bona fide spiritual master is able to enlighten the disciple in every way for the disciple's benefit.
Okay, so what's unclear?
So question is, like, one cannot inquire everything from the spiritual master, but he'll get an answer. Bit confused, like, can you...
Well, the way I mean, I don't know what the previous sentence was. Can you read the previous sentence too?
Yes. Not only is Maharaj Parikshit inquisitive concerning all he has inquired about, but he is also anxious to know about what he has not been able to inquire.
What? He's anxious about what he has not been able to inquire.
Able to inquire.
Okay. Well, I mean, put it that way, I understand this like this, that, all right, you know, we cannot ask everything and get an answer to everything from the spiritual master. This might even, you know, involve some mundane questions or something, or we also shouldn't be, you know, we shouldn't be perplexed if Guru maybe says about some questions, oh sorry, I don't know, if we ask, oh how many inhabitants are living in Norway or something, he might just not know the figure or something, so, but in any case, Guru will impart what is relevant to us to actually get home back to Godhead, because so many other things might not be so relevant. Or in Parikat Maharaj's case, well, there might be things he didn't have time to ask about because he's had only a few days. So, but he got the main thing, Right? Okay. So, what other questions did we have here? Push, up or down?
Mataji, I just have a clarification. Mataji. So, you were talking about the inquisitive spirit. So, right now we are discussing the characteristics of a person who is eager to take shelter, and inquisitiveness is one of them. So, I just have a clarification about sometimes our inquisitive spirit is partitioned, means it's not complete. Like I don't feel inspired to hear from everybody, or I don't feel inspired to or I don't feel that somebody is at that level from which the nectar can flow. Means I don't see that person having high realizations. According to me, there are, let's say, 5 devotees to whom I can hear, but rest 95 I cannot hear. So is that a disqualification? And also sometimes because of ego, we feel we will hear only this person because it conforms to our way of thinking. So we try to take shelter of that person who tries to understand us more and maybe agree to what we think. So how is it a qualification or a disqualification? That was just a clarification.
Okay. So I mean, to some extent, it is quite natural that, some people we feel more attracted to hear from them, some less. As Jiva Goswami says, we accept dependence on those with similar tastes and goals, right? So that's the like-minded association. But then also, it can be our own envy, So, yeah, we might be envious towards that person, and that's why we don't want to hear from that person. Or we might have a proud attitude towards that person. Actually, one has to be in a humble state of mind in order to hear from a person. Otherwise, hearing can be very torturous if we have a proud attitude. That then the mind says, what's he saying now? And, oh, yeah, come on, I know that. And, then the mind is going on and on and on. And very difficult to hear from such a person if we don't have a humble attitude, That's why Pariprashnena Sevaya, the inquiry goes together with humble service. So the humble service puts us in the right frame of mind to hear. And these two principles enhance each other. The more we serve, the more eager we are to hear. The more eager we are to hear, the more eager we are to serve. Right? Yeah, so we have to be introspective and see why we don't want to hear from this person, And, so, or we might want to just have our attachments supported or something, can also be. So we have to be introspective. And again, we might need the help of a mentor, because we ourselves might not be able to see so easily, right? Yes. Last question to this.
I wanted to ask, in the situation that sometimes we find when we look for shelter, or we approach a shelter, or we have a personal motivation, and sometimes you see very often the expectation is that my needs becomes met by those who I'm taking shelter of, and it's all pretty much self-centered. Is that equal to humility, lack of humility, or what is that disqualification, or if it's a disqualification?
Well, I wouldn't even say so much that it is a disqualification. It is more up to the mentor to recognize this and be careful, you know, how much medicine he can administer, you know? Because after all, the person is taking shelter. All right, he might have some material motive. It's simply, you know, a certain contamination there, a certain immaturity there, but at least he is taking shelter. So it is up to our expertise to deal with the person properly. You know, that we recognize this and that we maybe are not expecting too much of that person, but we pick him up where he is at. You see? Right? Yes. So I mean that comes up again tomorrow when we talk about the qualities we have to be a shelter giver. It will come up there again. Okay. All right, so let's conclude. Yes, without being inquisitive, there's no talk about taking shelter, right? Huh? Because we know it all and we can work it all out ourselves, and we don't need anybody to stick their nose in our life and you know, and we think we can work it all out by ourselves. So there's no inquisitiveness there of trying to benefit from other people's wisdom and life experience, right? We don't even want to hear about it. It doesn't even enter our mind that we could ask something, right? Yes, no talk about taking shelter. So now let's move on to the second one. Helplessness. Ooh, that's a big one. In fact, taking shelter only has some meaning if there's helplessness, right? Without helplessness, taking shelter has no meaning. Doesn't even exist, right? And it's interesting, in material life, even in the modern vocabulary, taking shelter, huh? Nobody talks about that, right? In German language, Zuflucht suchen, my God, this sounds something like from the Middle Ages or something. Yeah, people can't relate to it, people don't use it. And even in English, I mean, when do we talk about shelter? The bus shelter, and the bus stop. You know, in case there's a thunderstorm like yesterday or this morning, all right, ooh, let's run to the bus shelter there. Or the homeless shelter, you know? But otherwise, this word shelter is not even used, right? Yes. So, I mean, helplessness, it's really interesting. I mean, in spiritual life, this quality of feeling helpless is one of the most important qualities. As we make advancement, we realize more and more how helpless we are, how tiny, insignificant we are, how Maya is so strong and can just wash us away at any moment. As our false ego gets dissolved, you know, the false ego is what makes us so confident and we know it all. But as the false ego actually gets dissolved and subdued, we realize how helplessly dependent we are, you know, on Guru's mercy, the Vaishnava's mercy, how much we are a product of mercy from the Vaishnavas. What can we do out of our own strength? Nothing. You know, that so many devotees have been giving us their guidance, their training, their direction, their engagement. You know, I mean, without the mercy of devotees, we would be nowhere, you know. And I do want to read you again one paragraph of one powerful purport. You've got the number there, 1826. This is actually Queen Kunti praying for the calamities to come again and again. And there Prabhupada says a very nice thing in regards to chanting, but it is also in general terms applicable. So Prabhupada explains, actually the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency, but there is a quality to such utterance also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man or woman, man means human, human, a helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. Wow. Great material satisfaction. Beware of great material satisfaction. Very dangerous for spiritual life, actually, because we cannot be so sincere. Great material satisfaction means, I'm doing all right. Like in Australia, every second sentence is, no worries, mate. No worries, mate. No worries, mate. Oh, well, you know, how can you call hopelessly for Krishna? No worries, mate. So yeah, great material satisfaction, you know. This complacency comes in, this lethargy. Everything is fine. Let's not be so negative about life. You know, everything is going perfectly. I've got my house, my car, my job, my kids. Everything is perfect, you know. So how can we feel hopeless if we are situated in great material satisfaction? That's why I like to be in countries where there is very little material satisfaction. Bangladesh and Ukraine. Bangladesh, Dhaka, is probably the most hellish city on the planet. Complete chaos, dirt, noise, pollution. There's nothing beautiful. That's Dhaka, you know. It's the place of no systems, especially when it comes to traffic. You know, cars from all sides, bing, 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 nothing moves for 2 hours. You know, oh, my God, you know. For Germans, not so easy to tolerate. But spiritually, wow, we have hundreds of brahmacharis. It's brahmachari loka. So many temples, so many properties. Oh my God, it's really dynamic there, you know. Yes. So I like these places where you feel the pinprick of being in the material world, you know. You sit like a pin on a pin cushion. You can't get comfortable. Everywhere there's something pricking you, you know. Actually, it was funny. Once one young Bangladeshi fellow, he wanted to move to the West, to America, and I asked him, why do you want to go to America? I always try to stop them, you know. And then he was saying, well, there's no mosquitoes there, and there's no power failure. That was his main motivation to get out of Bangladesh, you know, the pinpricks of living in the material world. No, but those places, so much more, you feel so much stronger urgency to actually really take up Krishna consciousness. You know, it's easy in such places to realize Krishna consciousness is the only source of real happiness. Right? Very little material satisfaction, if not to say none. Ukraine, how much material satisfaction is there? Even the landscape, completely boring, you know, it's just flat and boring. Not much material satisfaction there, especially now where the war has been going on. But so many nice devotees, serious devotees. It's amazing. You know, and I mean, it's not that I'm saying here America is all bad. Actually, I am pleasantly surprised how many nice devotees are there in America and how open people are to this topic of culture. Of course, Indian-bodied devotees anyway, but also Western-bodied, you know, in LA, so many senior Prabhupada disciples there, And they all received me with such genuine eagerness and humility. I was really moved, actually. It was almost a little overwhelming for me. I never had experienced so much affection and appreciation coming from senior devotees and Prabhupada disciples, really. So it's not all that bad. But nevertheless, material satisfaction, let's continue reading here the purport, it's not finished yet. So a helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere, because he can't call out in helplessness. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Because if we are puffed up, we can't feel hopeless. And Prabhupada concludes, therefore, the 4 principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. Wow, heavy, heavy. And Prabhupada says, so to speak, disqualifications. He doesn't say it absolutely. It's not that a wealthy person cannot become a pure devotee, or a highly educated devotee cannot become a pure devotee. But human nature is that we get proud as soon as we have some little opulence, and then we can't feel hopeless. That's the problem. So that just shows how this quality of hopelessness is so important to develop. And I mean, all we have to do is open up our Vaishnava songbook. Almost every single bhajan expresses this mood of hopelessness. Kabe habe bolo, when oh when will the day come? Oh Gurudev Kripa Bindu dear, Gurudev, give to this servant just one drop of mercy. And then the last line is, if you're not merciful unto me, I can only weep, and I will not be able to maintain my life any longer. I mean, how much more hopelessness can we express than that? Right? Yes, so full of helplessness. Right? And because it is such an important quality, that's why sometimes Krishna helps us a little bit to feel hopeless. He helps us along, right? And he arranges all kinds of calamities and pulls the carpet underneath our feet, shakes up our comfy situation and material satisfaction, and just to shake us up a bit, so we take shelter. Right? Yes. Comes in so many different forms. You know, some heavy disease, deeper meaning is always to help us feel helpless. Actually, Narendra Swami taught this nice story last year at the Bhakti Sangam Festival in Ukraine. He was telling how he was doing some routine checkup, some medical checkup. And then the doctors were finding something strange there, and they were saying, we have to send this in and analyze this. This could very well be cancer. Of course it wasn't, but that's what they were saying. And it took about 10 days for Maharaj to hear the results, and he was laughingly sharing, I think in these 10 days I chanted my best rounds ever. So there we go, you know. And he was saying, yeah, it was just really, okay, so this might be it. You know, cancer, time to leave. He was saying it was a whole, you know, it made a whole change to his consciousness there. Puts a whole different, you know, makes a whole paradigm shift there. You know, when all of a sudden, okay, let's get ready to leave. Whole different outlook on life. You know, it shakes you up. I mean, death has really got that potency to severely shake us up. Yes, I experienced it twice. I've went twice through the adventure of cancer. Yeah, with surgery, chemo, everything. One was only a year ago. Was the best experience ever. Like Hemangi Mataji was saying, last time I did chemo, that's when I put this book together. 10 years ago, that led me to endeavoring for deeper levels of chanting. That's when I started doing holy name retreats. Yeah, it completely changed my whole outlook of spiritual life. Oh my God, it was really the best experience ever. If you stand a little closer to the edge, you realize all your big achievements, no significance when we face death. Wow, that was a really sobering experience for me. Because even as a preacher, you can be ambitious and, traveling fast, so many places, everybody has to know you, and wow, then you realize, no significance, no shelter in this. Completely unimportant. Wow, that was really an eye-opener for me, and so many other things too. But in any case, so I've been through it 2 times, and it was a fantastic rehearsal for the final. Yeah, to really put your life in Krishna's hands. Okay, Krishna, you can do whatever you like, you know, and that's when you really feel sheltered, actually. I really had that experience. When I entered surgery there, thank God, I was both times in Bhaktivedanta Hospital. Somehow Krishna always arranges these things in a pretty mysterious way. You know, Mumbai, Bhaktivedanta Hospital. My surgeon was the devotee who puts the Desire Tree website together. Vaishnav Seva, yeah, he did my surgery. I know him and his wife very well, and I've been in their homes. Kalindi Mataji, you know them too. You're from Mumbai, are you? No? Huh? Okay, you know a lot of devotees. Okay, so in any case, but that was a really striking realization. On the morning when I entered surgery, and I had no clue whether I would survive or what, you know. And when I chanted all my rounds before I went to surgery, and I was simply meditating on this fact, okay, Krishna, here I am. I'm ready to accept your plan. Whatever you desire, I'm ready. To give up one's own plans and accept Krishna's plan. And I felt so peaceful. It was amazing. I was completely relaxed. I couldn't believe it myself. You know, I was thinking, my God, what's going on? You're going into cancer surgery and you're completely cool and relaxed. I couldn't believe it. And then I realized, yeah, that's actually what it means to take shelter. If we really give up our plans and we accept Krishna's plans. As long as we hang on to our plans and we pray, oh please Krishna, let it be not cancer and this and that, you know, then we hang on to our plans, we will be in anxiety. Is Krishna fulfilling our plans or not? But only when we let go of our plans and we just simply put our life into Krishna's hands, oh, so peaceful, amazing. I mean, that was really an amazing experience. It put Krishna consciousness to a test for me. You know, and I saw, it really works. You know, it really works. Anyway, but yes, so Krishna knows best how to help us feel hopeless. And death, when death knocks on our door, it's pretty powerful. You know, death really has that power to shake us up and make us feel hopeless immensely. Yes. Okay, so much about hopelessness. Do we have any question on hopelessness? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. On the point of helplessness, Mataji, I sometimes feel that I need the mercy of devotees whenever I go through difficult circumstances. And the difficult part that I have understanding and also realizing for myself is that I feel that my life is in my own hands, and I'll have to.
You fear that it is or it isn't?
It is in my own hands. My life, my destiny is in my own hands. I'll have to lead my life. So I feel that for major part I'm the one responsible for it. And that is where I have some difficulty of understanding how the mercy from devotees does play a role in shaping my destiny. That is something which I have some difficulty understanding and realizing for myself.
Well, I mean, our destiny, we cannot so easily, it's not really so much in our hands, it's in Krishna's hands ultimately. And I mean, Krishna only gives us that little independence of deciding, whether we want to be independent from him and his instructions, or whether we want to work under his instructions and guidance. That's the only independence we have. And if we don't, and proportionally to how much we accept Krishna's guidance, we are proportionally freed from the effects of our karma. So the main thing is we have to agree to be under Krishna's direction and do our duty within Krishna consciousness according to our ashram and our position in life. Each ashram has different duties, purifying duties, and if we do them in Krishna consciousness, that's purifying. But I mean, my God, you say you've got your destiny in your hands?
When I say destiny, what I meant is like I have to lead my own life. Nobody is there to kind of like, I'm responsible for whatever the happiness or distress that comes.
Yeah, that's
so
fair enough.
That is sense.
Yeah, but I mean, Krishna can do so many things at any time. We might think we plan it all and we've got it all in our control, but then Krishna's, coming up with some jokes and unforeseen, unexpected things. So all we can do is act according to Krishna's rules and recommendations under the guidance of Guru and a mentor, and do our purifying duties seriously. So, and the mentor is helping us in that, to come back to our topic here of sheltering relationships. So a mentor is helping us to find that balance, Right?
Can I ask a follow-up question, Mataji? Can I ask a follow-up question?
If it's to the topic of helplessness.
Yes.
Is that? Okay.
I feel that sometimes that I may be too much depending on the mentors or the spiritual masters. I don't want to kind of like get to them for each and every minute detail of my life. So that's where I feel that if I have this kind of an attitude, I feel that I may not have this helplessness, the so-called helplessness what we are discussing about. So can you shed some light on that?
See, first of all, a good mentor will never spoon-feed his mentee with solutions. No. He will simply, try and help the mentee to see things from all different angles so he can make his own decision. But it has to be his decision and he has to take responsibility for it. So the main two functions of the mentor is that he prevents miseries by giving the guidance, but it's up to the individual devotees to take it or leave it. That's what Krishna is doing. You know, he's saying if you do like this, you get this result. If you do like that, you get that result. So now you decide, and if you can't do this, then do that. And if you can't do that, do this. And, you know. So the mentee has to take full responsibility for his decision. So no good mentor will simply give the solutions. I would do this. Don't do that. Now, good mentor will never say that. Good mentor will simply say, well, if you do like this, most likely you end up in that situation. But if you do like that, you will get that situation. So now you choose, you decide, and you take responsibility for it. Otherwise, if a mentor simply spoon feeds his mentees with solutions, then we have the scenario that the mentee will not take responsibility and he will blame his mentor. Oh, my mentor told me to do this and this. And he will be lazy. He will not use his brain to work it out himself. You know? Yes. So, you know, a good mentor will not, you know, just come up with the solutions. And he will not run around solving everybody's problems. Sometimes we have that idea that devotee care means we run around and solve people's issues. But no, forget it. No. That's not what devotee care is all about. How long can we do that? My God. You know? Nobody would want to be involved in devotee care if this was devotee care, running around and solving people's issues. You know? No. They should take guidance, then they will not be in some messy situations in the first place if they take guidance. You know? And all right, if they didn't take guidance, okay, then again we just help people work out their own issues, but we don't solve their issues for them. No, that's not what a coach is doing. You know, a life coach is not running around solving people's issues. No. And a mentor also not, even in Krishna consciousness. Right? Is that answering your question? Okay, good.
I have a clarification to ask, if you allow. So you just, what you spoke, so I heard like Srila Prabhupada used to say, his disciples should be independently thoughtful.
Yes.
Which necessarily means like they should be dependent spiritually on their spiritual masters, but based on the knowledge of their, you know, Gurus, Sadhu and Shastra, they should take independent decisions.
Yes.
Like you are doing.
Very true. Very true. Very true. But that also means that we do ask for guidance before we make our decisions. And not like I was sharing this lady who wanted to live in Vrindavan, you know. She makes her decisions and then forces the guru there for some so-called blessings. So, you know, that's also part of it, that we really consult Guru, Sadhu, Shastra beforehand. Right? Yes. And then we decide and we take full responsibility for our decision. Yes.
I have a question, Mataji. Regarding the material opulence leads to pride, the statement, can we have material opulence and still be humble and take shelter of Krishna? Because once we understand that we are helpless and everything belongs to Krishna, you know, can we still do that?
Well, it requires quite a high level of advancement, actually. I mean, Prabhupada was an example. You know, he had so much success, so much opulence, but he never took credit for it. He understood, you know, very clearly everything comes from Krishna. Krishna is the source of all opulence, and he can also take it away very quickly. Okay. You know, so it requires quite a bit of advancement. As a rule, our level is that as soon as we have some little opulence, we immediately become proud. Unfortunately. But I mean, that's exactly why Prabhupada is saying these opulences are, so to speak, disqualifications. Because if there's some little sincerity there, then we realize, that actually all opulence and ability comes from Krishna, really. We are borrowing. That's why I'm writing here, all opulences are but borrowed plumes. You know what a plume is? Some little feather there. It's just a borrowed plume. We are borrowing some little feather, some little decoration here from Krishna. So what's the need for being puffed up about it, We are only borrowing from him, and he can take it away, and he so often does. If he sees we get carried away, very often he takes it away, just to make us mouse again, Yes. But one little thing I want to add before I forget. There's two kinds of helplessness, material helplessness and spiritual helplessness. So the difference between material and spiritual is always that material is disconnected from Krishna and spiritual is connected with Krishna. So helplessness, which is not leading to Krishna in connection with Krishna, where we are simply feeling pity for ourselves. Oh, I'm so useless, I'm hopeless, oh my God, no chance for me. It's a certain self-indulgence that we are feeling pity for ourselves, and this is actually also a kind of sense gratification, because it is self-centered. We are still in the center here, and we feel sorry for ourselves, and then we get all depressed, and maybe even suicidal or something. So that's material hopelessness. That's not the hopelessness we are talking about here. But spiritual hopelessness is we move Krishna in the center, and we take shelter of Krishna. Okay, I'm useless and hopeless, so therefore let me take shelter of Krishna. Right? So there we connect our state of helplessness with Krishna being in the center. So, and that's the spiritual helplessness, which is uplifting and encouraging, and purifying. Right? Prabhupada also gives that nice example of a small child crossing a big freeway. So by himself the child would be helpless, but because the child puts his hand into his father's hand, he takes shelter of his father, that empowers him to cross the road, right? So, but if he would act out of false ego, I can do it, he probably would get run over, right? But because he takes shelter of his father, that is empowering. So in the same way, if we take shelter of Krishna and the Vaishnava of his lotus feet, then that's empowering, that's uplifting, right? Okay, so one more question. Okay, last one. Where's the mic?
I'm a little bit concerned about this idea of helplessness and maybe artificial helplessness and prematurely entering into this state of helplessness.
Where are you from? You sound like a Kiwi.
What?
Are you American?
Yeah.
Really? I thought you were from New Zealand or something, no?
No, I'm a little sick right now, maybe.
Huh?
I'm a little sick, under the weather.
Okay. Anyway, it doesn't strike me like a classic American accent. All right, go on.
And I guess my thought stemmed from the idea of the principle of like terrible situations leading to Krishna consciousness, like being in Ukraine or something like that. And I just think that this isn't a very stable ground for Krishna consciousness, and from my observation when being a part of some sort of temple or project that's not so stable, and you can call out for Krishna, but not too many people can do that or stick with it. So the idea.
What was the last thing?
Stick with it when in difficult situations.
Temple situations.
Yeah.
When temple situations are not stable.
Right.
Well, that's a bit of a different thing, you know. Even in Ukraine, the temple situations are very stable, believe it or not. So the instability should be around sense gratification, you know. Then they're conducive for spiritual life. But of course, if the temporal situations are unstable, that's not what we are advocating here. That's two different things. The temples are amazingly stable in Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, you wonder how, you know. I mean, I mainly go to Kharkov, which is only 120 kilometers from the war zone, and the temple is just existing on donation. They don't have any major income or anything, but it's going on amazingly. Very steadily. No instability there. Maybe less even than many other temples in the West. And they have a pretty big temple building and everything. All right, go on.
If you place yourself as dependent on an unstable situation, it can be very difficult.
Well, we have to discriminate between spiritually unstable and materially unstable. That's the point. An materially unstable situation in regards to sense gratification, that leads to taking shelter of Krishna. Prabhupada always says it, in war times the churches are full. Everybody runs to church and prays. Right? Yes, because everybody takes shelter. Oh my God, the bombs are raining, let's run to the church and pray. So that kind of instability is helpful because it makes us feel hopelessly dependent on God. We pray, we cry out in hopelessness. But a spiritually unstable situation, that is not helpful. And that's not so much dependent on material situations, as I'm sharing. The yatra in Ukraine is very stable. I mean, there was only 1 year when we didn't have this gigantic festival, where things were just, when the war just started, and you know, people were, the devotees, the leaders were afraid that actually such festival could become a target for, you know, the Russian agitators there. But all other years we have it every year. No problem. You know? So often in the middle of calamities, you know, that leads to more stability actually in spiritual terms. Because we take shelter. And Krishna reciprocates. Krishna provides somehow. Krishna brings what is lacking. That's really what I experience in Ukraine. 120 kilometers away from the war zone. I mean, when the war started, people thought I was crazy that I was going there. What? You going there? Oh my God. But nothing ever happened, you know, that was dangerous or anything. So, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
We have to distinguish between, you know, the calamities, whether they are calamities in regards to our sense gratification or whether they are threatening our spiritual practice.
Okay, one more question. I guess one is the point, I guess, to distinguish if you need to start making your own decisions or bring yourself to another situation.
Say it again, I didn't catch that. He was
I have a difficulty understanding like this being dependent or being helpless between actually taking care of yourself and making decisions for yourself.
Well, I mean, we have to use our common sense, you know, that we have to maintain our body and soul together and. But we should take guidance. I mean, this is one of the basic Vaishnav principles, that we don't make serious decisions without taking guidance. And even if the decisions are not so serious, still no harm to take guidance, and then our mentor will say, it's all right, you work that out yourself, either this or that or the other thing, any decision is okay, you know, because in many fields we can do things in different ways, this way, that way, the other way, and all ways are acceptable, you know. But we always should take the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. That should be the pivot points for our decisions in life. What's good for my spiritual life? What is Shastra recommending? What is Prabhupada saying about this? You know? And what is Guru saying about this? And what are the Vaishnavas saying about this? Those three aspects should be the pivot point in our life to make decisions. Not what's good for my sense gratification and what do my senses and mind suggest. You know? Yeah? Is that all right? Okay. Let us move on and do the third quality before you get all sleepy and tired here. Tired? Can you hang in there for the last one? Yes? Okay. Respect. Or you want to quickly get up and shake your arms and legs for 2 seconds? Yes. Stand on your head. Get the blood flowing, stretch. Don't walk away too far. Just a little bit of stretching, jumping on the spot. Come on, jump. Get the blood flowing. But don't jump away. Washroom, all right, not further than the washroom, please. And we might just not even wait until you're back. We might just start. Okay? Okay, and when you're ready, you can sit down again. So, last, oh yeah, hang on, I forgot one thing about hopelessness. Let's be clear, in the material world, nobody wants to feel hopeless. This is not a quality we are striving for, right? My God, would be seen as completely being a loser, you know? So again, you know, what is success in spiritual life? Feeling more and more hopelessly dependent is a complete downer in material life. That's how opposite the two are, right? Yes. Okay. And without helplessness, no question of taking shelter. Doesn't even make any sense, right? Yes. So, respect. Respect is a big, big topic. So important. Actually, whole spiritual practice, spiritual culture, foundation has to be respect. If respect is not there, everything goes down the drain. Everything is lost. If respect is not there, because spiritual life and spiritual culture is all about handing down from senior to junior, from the senior generation to the junior generation. It's all descending, and it can only descend if there is respect there, right? Otherwise, the seniors cannot impart anything on the juniors. They cannot hand down standards. They cannot hand down values, traditions, knowledge, life experience. It's all lost if there's not respect. And this is a big problem in our ISKCON society, actually. Because Kali Yuga, as we were saying, a culture of sense gratification brings along a culture of disrespect. Because sense gratification means you use others for your convenience. And you will only do this if there's disrespect. If there's respect there, you would never ever want to use others in a gross or subtle way for your own gratification. So that's why sense gratification always brings along a culture of disrespect. And you can see in Europe, you can see how the standard of life, as soon as the standard of life goes up, respect goes down. You can see it. When you go from Germany, you go more east, their life is becoming more simple. Poland, Baltics, Ukraine, Russia, you know, the standard of life decreases. Oh, and there's also Croatia, Slovenia. These countries are kind of in the middle there, in the middle between West Germany and West Europe and Eastern Europe. As the standard of life goes up, respect goes down. And the more west you go, the more the standard of life goes up. Oh, hang on, no. I'm mixing it up, I'm getting tired too. No, the more east you go, the standard of life goes down. Respect goes up. I was just testing you, how attentive you are. Nobody was even protesting, everybody was sitting there. So, and the more west you go, the more the standard of life goes up, the more the respect goes down. Right? Yes. Even in the language, in Russian language, you have two ways of addressing the formal you, the intimate you. Same in German language too. In Russia and Ukraine, the devotees insist on using the formal you to address a senior devotee. Even in Germany, there's so many Russian devotees living there. They speak German. Some of them grew up in Germany. They have German passport. They don't even speak with an accent. But they will insist to use the formal you. Yes, that respect is still ingrained in their hearts. I remember when I was a child, the system was that when a person is 16 or older, he should be addressed with a formal you, with respect. He's grown up, he's not a child anymore. Now, 50 years later, the formal you is almost extinguished from the language. It doesn't exist anymore. Nobody's using it. Yes, it's shocking. And what's behind it is that we think, because we don't even know what respect is, we take it to be a formality. We take it to be formal and impersonal. And we try to create intimacy by throwing out the respect. But what we get is over-familiarity. Yes. This is really what's going on. We're trying to be all chummy buddies, you know, by throwing out the respect, but we get over familiarity. I mean, it's sometimes so shocking that there's even this tendency of leaving away. Oi, Haribo, I'm talking here. Either you or me. He doesn't even realize I mean him. So it takes even such alarming forms that we often skip the Maharaj in the name, you know. We say, Devamrita is coming, instead of Devamrita Maharaj. Or Kadambakana is coming, instead of Kadambakana Maharaj. Right? You've come across that? Yes. What's behind it? We're trying to make a show what chummy buddies we are. It's just Kadambakana. You know? We make a show how we are almost on the equal level there. But actually, it is disrespect. It is disrespect. And we are trying to create this intimacy by throwing out the respect, and we get over familiarity. We're using these personalities to show off how cool and close we are to them. We're showing off, and we use them for that gratification. It's all pretty subtle, but it's there. See, spiritual culture is very subtle. Yes. Yes, so these things are going on. But I have learned these things in Bangladesh, that true intimacy has to be based on respect. They're the devotees. They deal with each other with such respect, but at the same time they're so close, so tight. Yes. So there is no talk about intimacy if it is not based on respect. And there's even this Shastric injunction that one should serve Krishna one should serve, is it Guru or Krishna? Either Guru or Krishna and the husband with intimacy and respect. What are the Sanskrit words? It slipped my mind. There's two terms. It's something Gora. Huh? Yeah, some Gora Vena or something, and God, I always knew it, you know, this is old age coming, and after 2 chemos already a few brain cells are knocked out. Anyway, maybe later I will remember. Or maybe I've got it somewhere in my little verse book there under W for wife. What was it? Here. Found it. Goravena and Vishrambena. There are 2 important processes in serving the husband or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishrambena means with intimacy, and Goravena means with great reverence. See? Yes. Vishrambena, Goravena. Yes, so respect, reverence, that creates intimacy. They go together. You know? Yes. Yes. And I mean, in Bangladesh, this culture is so strong. It's so ingrained in people's hearts, this respect. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. Even in little details, when a senior devotee walks, you know, let's say in the temple compound on the Friday program, which is here like the Sunday program, Muslim country. So there's book tables, devotees sitting on the book table. when you walk past as a senior devotee, they all jump up. They all stand up. That's how you're meant to act when a senior comes. You're meant to stand. You know, in school it was like that years ago when the teacher walks in, you stand up. That's how you show respect. Now people have their foot on the table, you know, when the teacher walks in. That's the way they receive the teacher today, you know. Yeah. But the boys never call each other just by the name. They always call each other Prabhu. Definitely between the genders, you know, no man ever calls a woman just by name. No, it's Mataji. They usually don't even say the name. It's Mataji. Only if there's so many Matajis that there's some confusion which Mataji, then they add the name. And that respect is not only towards persons, but even towards objects. Yes. That it's considered very offensive, and I'm sure you Indian body devotees of the elder generation, you know this. It's very offensive to touch anything with your foot which is not meant to be touched with your foot, like your shoes or the ground or something. And I remember once I was in a meeting in Bangladesh and I moved my computer bag aside with my foot. Oh my God, and nobody said anything. They took culture to even say anything, but they all gave me these big looks, and I immediately realized I was not supposed to do this, you know. When they touch their computer bag with their foot, they apologize to the computer bag. Right? Yes. Or harmonium. Sometimes we Western people, we sit on the floor and we put our foot against the harmonium. This is Mahaparad, you know. The harmonium is this expansion of Balaram. How can you put your foot against the harmonium? Yes. But, you know, we are so desensitized, so gross and uncultured, actually. We don't even realize these things, you know. And another thing is that actually Vaishnavas should not only respect other devotees, but every living entity, even non-devotees, you know, and every object as part and parcel of Krishna's energy, right? Yes. Just the other day in Bhagavatam class we had the topic, you know, how the material world, the body is part of Krishna's divine energy. And in practicality, that understanding is demonstrated by showing respect to each and every object, actually, seeing it as part of Krishna's energy, right? So Vaishnavas should not only respect devotees, but every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna. Super soul is there, spirit soul is there. Every living entity is dear to Krishna. Who are we to disrespect? And interestingly, this tendency we often come across, that we say, I cannot respect the senior devotee because he's got some shortcomings, some fault. How can I respect him? Right? Right? You've heard this before, or you felt like this. So I was pondering over this, and I realized behind this is also envy. Because as soon as a person has some shortcoming, we evaluate, we judge. Oh, I am better, how can I respect? We try to use the situation to take the superior position. And how can I respect? Yeah, there's envy behind it. But actually a devotee is meant to respect every living entity. What to speak of every devotee? Even if there's some faults and shortcomings, it's not a reason not to respect. It's not. Hang on, no question now. Let me first continue presenting. So this is a real big thing, that even if a devotee makes so many faults, mistakes, or he has so many faults, it's not a reason to disrespect. No. Every devotee is so dear to Krishna, so dear to Prabhupada, so dear to Guru. Who are we to disrespect? Yes, that has to be clearly understood. So now, of course, very often comes the question, so do we still follow, incorrect advice? So, in that regard, I want to share this nice quote from Shikshamrita. It's on your sheet there. There are 3 types of service to elders: protection of parents, protection of teachers, and protection of other elders. One must follow the instructions of parents and serve them as much as is possible. A person should serve those who have protected him as a helpless child. He should also service those who have given knowledge, especially those who have given spiritual knowledge and mantra. Those are considered superior, here we are, who are bigger in body, greater in age, or more experienced in knowledge. One must respect and serve them all. So now comes a really good one. One cannot follow incorrect orders of a superior, but one should not show hostility towards him using disrespectful or harsh words. One should put a stop to their improper behavior or instructions by using sweet words, humility, and gentle reasoning at the proper time. I find this very powerful. Yes, the last line especially. The rest is just an introduction, But the last line, one should put a stop to their improper behavior or instructions by using sweet words. What do we usually do? Harsh words, antagonistic words, provocative words, argumentative words. That's what we usually do. But no, we are meant to use sweet words, humility, not arrogance, and gentle reasoning at the proper time, not harsh argumentative reasoning at the improper time. That's usually what we do. I mean, this instruction is just so insightful and very practical. How to deal with situations where seniors give the improper instruction. But nevertheless, it's not a reason to disrespect them. That has to be clear. And then there's also another one. Disrespect to elders has 3 objects: parents, teachers, and other superiors. Even if the superior makes a mistake, he should not be disrespected. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Shikshamrita. A person should be careful to please superiors with polite and gracious conduct. To disobey the orders of superiors is also disrespect. If it is appropriate, then it's disrespect. But if it's inappropriate, we should not follow it, Yeah, so I mean, this gives very nice insights into this whole topic of respect. That even if a senior person has so many shortcomings or makes mistakes, it's not a reason to disrespect the person. And again, examples like a hospital, the fact that there's diseased personalities there, we're not treating them with disrespect, right? Because we understand they're diseased, right? So same thing also in this hospital of ISKCON, just the fact that there is some shortcomings in people it doesn't give us a reason to disrespect, right? Okay, let me see, there was one other thing. Oh yes, very, very important, that respect has to be taught to our children at very young age. Oh my God, we are really lacking in this, we are falling short in this, you know. Yes, yeah, at young age, the child has to be disciplined and trained, you know, to respect seniors. Pay obeisances, touch the feet, get the dust, sadhu. You know, I have seen this also in Bangladesh, sometimes it's almost a little too early, you know, with 1 year of age or something, they push the head of the screaming child on the ground there, you know, and child cannot understand. So, no need to start that early, you know, but 2, 3 years of age, the child is imitating what the parents do, and the parents have to set the example. If they don't pay obeisances, and if they don't have that respectful mood, then of course the kids will not, you know. But if this is not done, my God, you know, if we come at this with this when they are 15, oh well, then we missed the boat, you know, then they don't want to, you know, then they don't want to hear and accept that. Has to be started at young age, young age. I mean, this topic came up even in Houston when I was visiting there. They've got a school. And some devotees were sharing this concern, and they were saying, even the non-devotee kids, they are often better behaved than our children. I mean, that's alarming, you know. They were saying this. One mother took her kids off the devotee school, put them in the private Kami school. And they were saying there they are trained better in being respectful. There the young people, they say, yes ma'am, yes sir, no ma'am, no sir. And you know, they behave. But our kids sometimes, oh, it's all free and easy, anything goes. Don't be too harsh, they might be discouraged from Krishna consciousness. You know, and then they grow up wild, my God. You know, in Europe, I've been to some communities, oh my God, the kids are outrageous. No discipline. They don't even say Hare Krishna to you when you meet them on the property there or something, you know. Yes. And I sometimes get even messages, emails from Prabhupada disciples in America who voice this problem to me. And I've never even met them, I don't even know them. But they know that I'm preaching about culture. And they say, you know, often the young generation, they just are so disrespectful. They don't want to hear our advice. And they bring in all this Kali Yuga nonsense. And we just stand by and we can't do anything. We can't tell them because they're not ready to hear anyway. You know, and then there's also this fear there, oh, we don't want to discourage them from chanting Hare Krishna and all this. You know, but then the whole process gets watered down because, you know, the elders can't pass down. And that's a real threat. That's a real threat to Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement, this lack of respect. It's a big whole topic. One can put on a whole seminar just on that, you know. Yeah, so I mean, my God, you know, and again, in material life, respect is all seen as old-fashioned and formal, and now it's the cool, modern, new agey days, you know, and even often the parents, they say to their children, oh, you can just call me by the first name, no need for mum and dad and all this, you know, it's so formal, we're all cool and buddies here, you know. Oh my God, you know, no, it's poison for the children. It's same as going on in the schools too, that the teachers think that if we put ourselves on the same level of the child, then we can reach them better. But that's nonsense. That's you know, some new agey misunderstanding, you know. Yeah, there has to be that respect there. And of course, the respect also has to come from the senior to the junior, you know, that we respect them as spirit souls and we treat them nicely with affection, you know. Yes, not disrespectful. I mean, even in preaching, you cannot preach unless you have genuine respect for each and every person in your audience. Why should you bother to sacrifice your time and energy if there's no respect? You know? And even towards children. That's why in spiritual culture, the only bona fide touch between grown-ups and children who are not your child is blessings. Hand on the head. That's what I learned in Bangladesh. That's the only bona fide touch. Or this, there, you know, this, children hate it, you know? Yeah, because they feel, it's almost emotional abuse there, you know, trying to, you know, satisfy your emotional needs by doing all kinds of stupid things there with a child, you know, or slapping it a bit on the bum or something. You know, there's no room for this. This is disrespectful. Yes. Oh yeah, when children are older, they hate it when older, you know, grown-ups come around like this, you know. And, get lost, you know. When they're small, well, what can they do? They just tolerate it, you know. But yeah, as soon as they get a little older, they can feel there's some certain disrespect there, you know, using that person for your own fun there and gratification, you know. Yes. So respect has to go both ways. But there has to be that platform of respect, otherwise we cannot learn. Not from the teacher, not from the parents, not from anybody. Not from the elders. So we have to understand the importance of respect, because our whole spiritual life and Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement will go down the drain if we don't establish that platform of respect. It's a real big topic. And of course in material life, as we were saying, again, this quality, people don't aspire for it. They think it's all old-fashioned and outdated, and it's all formal and impersonal, because a culture of sense gratification brings along a culture of disrespect. They go hand in hand. Right? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm also getting a little tired, I have to admit, 6 hours talking non-stop, almost. So let me see, do we have any question on this topic of respect? Mike?
Hare Krishna Mataji, you mentioned the example of some devotees who just address senior devotees just by their name without Maharaj after their name. My question is slightly related to this on the topic of respect. Coming from India, where it's a very diverse culture, and within one language speaking state, the different slangs of the language, where there are similar examples like the one you mentioned, where the people don't actually address the person directly with some respective words, but it seems to the person who is coming from a different area that they are kind of like disrespecting, but actually their slang is like that.
Well, slang is always, comes along with disrespect. Huh? Just slang. Again, we show off how cool and easygoing we are and all this. So, no, why slang?
My question was on the receiving end, where maybe the other person says it's how we are born and brought up, that we communicate this way, but we actually don't mean to disrespect you. That's what they say clearly, but when they communicate it's to the other person, it doesn't show.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced this when I came to America, you know. I heard devotees saying, some young bhaktas referring to senior devotees, you guys. Huh? You guys? You know, it's a typical American way of talking. Yeah, well, what do you guys got to say about it? You know? It's slang. But my God, when I needed a bit of time to get used to this, you know, it was a bit of a culture shock for me to refer to devotees as you guys. Inappropriate. I would never, I mean, I hope that I will never adopt these kind of speech. Well, because that's the danger. We easily get used to anything, you know. And if everybody around us talks like this, then we just think it's normal, you know. But you guys, what's that, you know? Hey, you guys, what, you know? But I heard even on the plane, you know, the announcements of the stewardess, so I wish you guys a nice day in LA. Huh? You guys? You know? Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that's how people talk in America. I'm sorry to say, I hope nobody identifies with being American here. We are not this body. No, but that's the thing, you know, the more west you go, the more the respect goes down, and it comes out in these easygoing slang ways of addressing each other, you know. I mean, talking about Australia, even though I'm forever grateful that I joined there, but my God, you know, people have, you know, the way their people address each other, they can't even say the whole name. It has to be some shortcut, by hook or by crook, you know. And they couldn't even say Devaki, they made Devaks out of this. Hey, Devaks. Oh, God. Even though it's not even shorter, you know, whether you say Devaki or Devaks, what's the difference, you know? But there's even a joke coming from non-devotees, not devotees, but non-devotees. The joke is, what's the difference between an Australian and yogurt? Yogurt has culture and Australians don't. So even the non-devotees know it, you know, that there's no culture, you know, really, no culture, absolutely no culture. Yeah, so that's the situation, you know. So, and I mean, India, this is also starting now because, again, India has experienced 20 years of economic development, like anything. And proportionally, the culture is falling apart. Materialism is setting in. That's why I'm giving these courses in India now. I spend much less time in Bangladesh and spend more time in India just to teach these courses everywhere. And already in India, people are voicing this concern. Of course, it comes from the elders, how this disrespect is setting in India. As I'm saying, a culture of sense gratification brings along a culture of disrespect. They go hand in hand. You can't separate them. You can't think that you can have a culture of sense gratification and at the same time maintain the respect. No, they are incompatible. Right? Because the principle of sense gratification is that you use others for your gratification. Even just simple things, and I hope I'm not going to start a whole discussion on that, but I'm just using it as an example. when like a lady shows off her body, she dresses unchaste. What's behind it? Disrespect, actually, because she is using other people for her gratification to show off her body. If she had respect, she would never ever dare to dress like this. Right? But of course there's a few other things also coming, which I'm explaining in the book. Last chance for today to do a bit of advertisement here for my book, Spiritual Culture, Krishna's Divine System. Now there's also comes in the whole thing because a woman is not protected anymore, in a sense that the elders are finding a nice husband for her, so therefore she has to go out hunting and fishing. I am available, please take me. That's the other reason also. And Prabhupada says it, these days the woman, the so-called independent woman, has to dress up in mini skirts and with cosmetics and try to find a husband who takes care of her. Prabhupada says it in such blunt words, you know. But anyway, so, you know, that's how this disrespect, we come across it in all different subtle ways, you know, of even dressing in an unchaste way. It is actually a form of disrespect. Or being frivolous and laughing and joking and all this with the other gender. Also, it's actually disrespect. You're using others for your gratification, for your subtle sense enjoyment, right? So you can't separate sense gratification from respect or disrespect. They, you know, respect and sense gratification simply do not go together. And this is also starting in India, definitely. People tell me all the time. So this slang, hey guys, you know, you guys. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I heard it the first time. I couldn't believe my ears. What? You know, this Bhakta was referring to senior devotees and Prabhupada disciples as you guys? Did I hear properly? You know, yeah, it took me some time to get used to it. And we're just so unconscious of these subtleties. And we just think, oh, well, everybody out there says it, so it must be the way how to be cool and easygoing, you know, and buddies here, you know. Jai Shri Kishore Kishori Gonatai Jagannath Prabhu Subhadra Jai. And I mean, really, any kind of slang has this element of disrespect, actually. That's what slang is all about, you know? Yes.
Thank you much.
Any other, maybe last question, not to exhaust us all too much here. Yeah, we started at 3, 4, 5 hours, it's only 2.5 hours. Okay. Oh, yes, Prabhu, I told you. Hang on, okay, so 2 last questions. Yes, I almost forgot about you, my apologies. Yes, please.
Vaishnavas who respect every living entity, they are respecting, but in return, like whoever taken shelter or the guidance or have done the good for other persons, when they are start disrespecting or saying harsh word, how one should behave with them?
Okay. Good question. You mean when the juniors? Okay. Well, it depends a little bit on our relationship. There is one basic principle, which is a little off the track, but anyway. Actually, a Vaishnava should never defend himself. That's part of the ego seminar, false ego. The false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. We can have that next time when I come. Hang on. Let me explain. I'm just starting only. So, the basic etiquette is a Vaishnava should not defend himself. He should defend others, but not himself. Because when we defend ourselves, who do we defend? What do we defend? We defend our false ego. We protect and defend our ego. And that we should not do. So even if we are, there is some verses in the Bhagavatam, even if we are cursed, accused, attacked, defended, almost killed, Vaishnava should never avenge himself. Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur, the shining example. So, and if we all follow this etiquette of not defending ourselves, but we defend others, then things work nicely. But what we usually do is we only defend ourselves and we give a damn about defending others. Right? So that's just setting some foundation here to your question. So if a person is rude to us, actually, on one hand, the proper thing to act upon is to tolerate, to use it as an example, as an opportunity to cultivate tolerance. Because this is the most provoking thing for the false ego, to either be insulted or neglected. That's very challenging for the ego. So whenever we are in such a situation, that's one way of dealing with it, that we use it as an opportunity to let go of our false ego and to tolerate. But then, depending on our relationship, if it is our son, then obviously we have to act as a father and we have to discipline him. We have to tell him, hey, this is not how you speak to your father, Or if we are a teacher or some authority figure, then it's our duty to discipline and correct. Yes. But if it is not our relationship, and if we see they will not accept anyway, then maybe better just to tolerate, but then to tell somebody who's got the relationship, like the spiritual master or the teacher at school or the parent. Again, depending whether if it's a teenager, then parent you can forget. You cannot discipline anymore. But then maybe some. Well, I mean, that's true. At 16 at the latest, and these days already 14, 15, parents cannot discipline. There has to be other authority figures in their life. Some teachers, gurus, whatever, role models. Yes. So it just has to be seen, in the individual situation, what the situation is. What is your relationship with this person? How old is this child? And will he accept from me? If he doesn't accept from me, then better to tell somebody who's got the authority over him to, to discipline him. Like that. Okay? Excellent. Very last question.
For me, very powerful was the always respect the seniors despite the shortcomings. So when you have a situation, when you have one-on-one conversation and somebody starts disrespecting seniors, what is the action? What should you do?
Hang on, it's a one-to-one
conversation.
And the junior disrespects the senior.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And who are you? You are the senior or you're just a bystander?
Bystander. So
well, as we just said, we should defend others. So if we are a bystander, or if it's maybe our friend, no harm to say, hey, you don't talk like that to a senior person. That's often much more powerful if it comes from another person than from him. Because if it comes from him, then we might be, or the person might be thinking, now just see, he is offended, he's, defending himself, and. But if another person If you are friends with that person and you say, hey, how can you talk like this to he's a senior devotee, you know, that's much more powerful, especially even when it's on equal level.
And if I don't say that, then it's an offense from my side?
Kind of, because that's the etiquette. We are not meant to defend ourselves, but we are meant to defend others. So if we don't do it, it is a neglect, yes, yes.
And what do you do if you did it?
Huh?
What do you do if you already did it?
What?
What do you do then?
What did what?
What do you do if you commit this offense?
That you did not step in and say something?
Yes.
Well, you can always say it afterwards. See, there's also different etiquettes, like especially in the presence of seniors. No, actually, especially in the presence of juniors, you're not meant to correct somebody. You know? That's also unsensitive. You know? If a senior person makes a mistake and juniors are present, you don't correct him in the presence of juniors. Very often, best way to accept the correction is privately. Even Krishna does it with Lord Brahma after he steals the cowherd boys and calves, or Indra after he sends the rain there, you know. It happens in privacy there, in a confidential atmosphere. So you can always correct afterwards. You know, but then, yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. You know, if that person who committed an offense, if he's also a little senior, and the person he committed the offense towards is even more senior, then it is maybe a little embarrassing for him when you correct him in front of the senior. Yeah? But if he's a young fella, then you can, you know. If he's his authority anyway or something, then you can, no problem. So it depends on the individual situation. So that the basic principle is that we want to correct in such a way that it is also easy for the person to accept it. We don't want to, you know, hammer on his ego unnecessarily. That's why correction, even with kids we do like this. We don't chastise them in front of others. You know, not school friends, not seniors, not other family members. It's better if we take him aside and say, hey, listen, this is not the way you can talk here, you know. You better go and think about it and sit a while in the toilet there and ponder over it, and when you're clear on it, you can come out again or something. But to chastise somebody in front of many people, this is, yeah, very painful for the ego, unnecessarily painful maybe, you know. And I mean, one thing, and this will be really the last thing, but I just remember I forgot to mention it. What's really against the etiquette is to pass judgments on seniors. That's really against the etiquette. It's not our position to pass any kind of judgments on seniors. We cannot understand what goes on senior levels. And also when there is a dispute and a disagreement on senior level, we are not meant to take sides. We are not meant to discuss who is right and who is wrong. Oh my God, this is completely against the etiquette. But so often we are doing this over Facebook and internet, discussing the GBCs and this and that, and oh, this is terrible. I mean, my God. Oh, yeah, it's really Vaishnava apparat. It's not our business. We've got enough to work out in our own hearts. We are not meant to detect detect all kinds of faults in seniors and discuss them and pass judgments on them. I mean, this is really, oh my God, you know, it's terrible. But it's massively going on, you know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all websites, you know, where people just criticize gurus and sannyasis and GBCs and, I mean, this is terrible, you know. Yes. It completely destroys any possibility for pure devotional service. And it contaminates so much the atmosphere, you know. As we said before, even if there is some little fault there, we are not meant to discuss and magnify and talk about it. It only magnifies the negativity. Who will it help? Nobody. Right? Yes, nobody. So all this talk, this public talk, you know, about people's negative qualities, it only magnifies negativity. It does not bring any benefit to anybody involved, not to the person, not to myself, not to others who hear it. It's only negative. Yes, it only contaminates. So that's why we have to stay away from these things and judging seniors also, or taking sides in, you know, in some disagreements there on senior levels and all that. Yes. Okay. Let me quickly have a look if I didn't forget anything really. Yes. Anyway, let's conclude. These three qualities. It's not what in material life people are striving for, right? Inquisitiveness, helplessness, respect. It's not what people strive for. So therefore, they're often seen as weakness even. You know, so therefore, not surprising that we're not so eager to take shelter spontaneously, naturally. You know, because we are so conditioned by material propaganda and bombardment and conditioning. So I would like to do a last quick personal exercise, that you turn to your neighbor and share what this seminar so far gave you. Quickly. Even though we have not finished yet, there's more to come. But just in a nutshell, you don't have to, you know, repeat the whole topics to each other, but just in a nutshell, in 1 or 2 sentences, capture what did it give you? What did it do to you? What are you taking out of here? Hopefully something. So just quickly share, 2 minutes in pairs. Then you get both a chance to speak something. Share with each other. What did it give you? Okay, go up here, Manandi. Okay, so we will close on that note. So now tomorrow we will have only one session from 2 to 4. It was initially announced as 1:30, but I feel it's a little too close to the lunch break, you know. No, we don't have morning session. Oh yeah, it was announced on the poster. Prabhuji, Subhaprabhu, can you announce this one more time, or has everybody gotten this information that there's no morning session tomorrow? You know, over internet or SMS or whatever, you know, because on the poster it says in the morning. And we realized that if we have a morning session, then there's too long gap for the Sunday program. And people, especially when they come from a little further away, then people hanging around and going back and coming back again. So that's why we don't have a morning session. We have only one session from 2 to 4. And then 5 o'clock, I will also give the Sunday feast lecture, so I need a little bit of a break to... So tomorrow only one session, 2 to 4, and then Monday we have from 7 to 9 in the evening. So you come 6:30, you get a dinner, straight after work you come here, take your dinner, and then 7 o'clock from 7 to 9 we have the final session. And this final session is pretty important, because there we talk about all different practicalities. How to start, how to prevent all different things which shouldn't happen, and. And tomorrow the topic will be qualities we need to have in order to give shelter to others. So this is highly important. There's 2 reasons why this is an important session. Who knows? Why do we clearly have to understand what qualities we have to have in order to give shelter? What are the 2 obvious reasons? Come on, think. Hey? Why do we have to know what are the qualities a person has to have to give shelter to others? Yeah, so we know who is qualified, so we don't take shelter in an unqualified person. And what's the second reason? So that we know which qualities we have to develop, so we can one day become a shelter giver. So we don't forever lead a superficial life, right? Yes. So I mean, this is pretty important. So please be all back tomorrow, 2 o'clock, 2 to 4, okay? And last reminder, if there's anybody who wants one of those books, then please put your name on the list, and if I humbly may ask you to pay the $10 up front, just so we know you definitely want it, and within 2 to 3 weeks you will get it. Once we finalize how many books we get all up, I will send a message to Ukraine. They're printed in Ukraine actually. So and I have somebody there, he will pack them in the box and send them out. Okay, so $10 is including the shipping. And you will get a lot of deeper insights there in all different aspects of culture and Krishna system and. So it's worthwhile. Okay? Okay, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari. Thank you very much for your keen interest and your tolerance of sitting here for so many hours. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. If I can have some few volunteers that help me put these chairs away, we're going to leave them here in the temple room for using it tomorrow. But I need to clear them out, so just few volunteers.
Is there dinner for everybody? Do they serve prasadam or not?
I can find out. I think so.
Yeah,
in
because
general, yes.
somebody told me that there will be prasadam for